Good morning everybody and welcome back to another video here today on the channel, where today we're going to be looking at the most important LEGO Legend of Zelda ideas to come out of Tears of the Kingdom. Now, we're not talking about sets that they should make today, but more so things that need to be included to make a wave a success. For a little bit of context, this is assuming in an alternate reality where LEGO sets already exist and other games have been covered, meaning things like the Champion's Tunic, which is so iconic in Breath of the Wild, have already been made in LEGO form. Therefore, this would impact the importance of getting the Champion's leathers due to the similarity of the items, as well as lots of landmarks across Breath of the Wild which don't need to be on this list, like how iconic stables are, because in this world we're assuming that they've already been covered in Breath of the Wild sets. And finally, this is what they need to do as a minimum. As I said, we're not covering set ideas, but more so things that should be included in these sets in order so at the end of the day, if they no longer make any more Tears of the Kingdom sets, then we've got everything that we need as a minimum to be happy. And obviously this includes a small spoiler warning for the regional phenomena quests, as well as early game, as well as minor context towards early memories. Nothing major, nothing past regional phenomena, and certainly no endgame spoilers today. However, if you do want to be spoiler free for the regional phenomena, I'd click off now. I'll give you 5 seconds because the next slide contains spoilers for that. 3, 2, 1. And we're going to jump straight into number 15, which I believe is the bosses. Now, they're really low on the list here, not particularly important, but still an iconic part of the game, of course making multiple appearances and being nice, large, sizable enemies for Link to take down. I think they are definitely a part that is the Kingdom experience and definitely more important than some, but as we're in the early stages of the list here, we're items which I think would be disappointing to not include in Tears of the Kingdom sets, but I wouldn't exactly be losing any sleep over if I didn't get a Colgera, Marbled Goma, Queen Gibdo, or Muktarok, as I feel like, with the exception of Muktarok, you can pretty much build them all yourself. Yes, to a less degree, it'd be nice to see high quality LEGO models, and I would very much like to have all 4 of them, but not hugely important and wouldn't be missed to a large extent, depending on the people you ask, of course. Overall, still deserving of a spot in a Tears of the Kingdom set, depending on if they have space for them. Number 14, slightly more important to me, is the constructs, and you may argue that the bosses should be more important than the constructs, but the constructs definitely play a more central role in the story. Specifically, the steward constructs stand out to me here as definitely forming a backbone of like the NPC structure for the game, as well as just being a regular recurring characters that I think should definitely be a part of it. They're also intrinsically tied to Tears of the Kingdom's DNA and the Zonai as well, making them must inclusions for representing the whole of the world, but also filling out the population in the sky. My personal picks would be the soldier constructs and the flux constructs, a really engaging boss battle that I think kids would love to play with, and definitely they scream Tears of the Kingdom when you look at them, therefore I think they really should be included. Number 13 is Link's new outfits. Now remember, we're still in the phase where while I'd be disappointed if we didn't get these kind of things, I wouldn't be losing any sleep over them, which is why I've chosen to put Link's outfits slightly near the bottom of the list. In order to add more diversity, and meaning that you won't end up with 13 sets containing, well, just the same outfit, I think it's important that we show some of his new outfits. My personal picks would be the Charged set, the Glide set, and the Froggy armor, as well of course the most important, the Champion's leathers. This of course would be a lot higher if the Champion's tunic hadn't already been in Breath of the Wild, and then therefore the iconic outfit is almost 90% there, although I do significantly prefer the leathers over the tunic now, looking back. The reason I picked these outfits is purely personal bias, and of course there are plenty of other sets, such as the ones from the depths and all over the overworld and sky, that would make also great additions to Tears of the Kingdom sets, but mostly it's about diversity and mixing up the links, and just providing some of the really cool outfits that people will have memories attached to in the sets, and I think that would go a long way. Number 12, potentially the most controversial one so far, or first controversial one, is the Boss Bokoblin. Now I've singled this guy out, 1 because he was part of the initial marketing, but 2 because I really think he fits well with the Big Fig Lego mold, or at least a modified version of it. I think that he's the easiest of the main new enemies to translate, even compared to the constructs and the Horriblins in particular, along with the likes. I think that the Boss Bokoblin translates really, really well. He would be easily scaled into an existing system of Bokoblins, Moblins, and the Zalfos, and he would add some nice scale and variance to the existing enemy lineup, and would definitely spice up some Tears of the Kingdom sets. There are not many opportunities for a Lego Zelda Big Fig besides this, so I think it's particularly important that we get that bit of variety in the Tears of the Kingdom sets, and I would definitely love to see his inclusion, although again, not super disappointed if he doesn't make it, but definitely out of the regular enemies, definitely my favourite for inclusions. Not personally, I'd like to see Gibdos, but Boss Bokoblin I think is the strongest inclusion that I think LEGO should do. Next up, really low down the list for the priorities here is the Zelda and Ganondorf, more specifically than new Tears of the Kingdom outfits. Of course, Twilight Princess Zelda, Breath of the Wild Zelda will have all appeared in other sets, we assume. Therefore, we're talking specifically about her ancient outfit that is seen in the new amiibo, and the Ganondorf that appeared in the promotional material. Now, you could argue that these amiibos were not released at launch due to avoiding spoilers. However, really, I think Nintendo view them the same way I do. Not an afterthought, but clearly something that isn't as important to the experience as, well, Link and other things in the sets. Therefore, while loads of people would love to have these main characters in minifigure forms, I don't believe it's as important, and while obviously I'd incredibly love to have them in a collection in minifigure form, I don't think I'd be devastated, at least not as devastated as some of these other things. So I've put them here together because of the amiibo, really. They feel very similar. Awesome figures would be great to have, but given where they're locked to in the story, with Ganondorf of course being the end game, but also only in the past along with Zelda in the geoglyphs, well, what sets are you going to put them in? Unless you're doing sets based off the past, there isn't really much opportunity to place them anywhere, and I will directly contradict myself on that point for one of our top picks for today. However, for now, near the bottom of the list. Number 10, regional representation. This one's a bit vague. This is why I put the map up on the board, but Hyrule is a very diverse landscape, and the 4 regional phenomena quests all have unique architecture, unique people, and unique environments. Gerudo, Tabantha, Lanayru, and Eldin all have major quests in the game, and therefore, given that Link spends so much time in these regions, I would expect at least one set in a wave to be themed after Death Mountain, Hebra, the desert, and then the wetlands or Zora's Domain or Sky Islands or whatever. Whether this is in the form of only sets based off the dungeons, I think that would be a little sad because it would limit how many landscapes we could get and see all the different pine trees or desert hills or waterways or even lava streams for the 4 regions. But just like I'd expect for any sets based off, well, any of the 3D games where you go to visit different regions, I would hope that we'd see diversity in both minifigures and sets to represent the different landscapes that Link is visiting. It'd be really cool to have a lava themed set and a snow themed set and based off the different ruins and structures that are there as well. Lots of important locations across the entire map, but these ones in particular, I would like to see representation for the regional phenomena and their races, just so that we can get some more variety in those sets. I think this is one of the most important points on the list, even if it's a little too vague to be at number 1. Next up, number 9 is the Gleeok, the main sort of poster child enemy for the game, sort of replacing Lynel's in a way, but it's the most challenging enemy to defeat, and really it's on this list because it's a slam dunk for Lego. Kids love dragons, they love dragons, Ninjago loves dragons, make a Gleeok. Really easy. King Gleeok would be my choice, ideally, but I really think this is a slam dunk set, really easy win with a nice recognizable dragon. We're getting to that point now. I think this is the first one was regional representation, where now I'm starting to be like, come on guys, we should really be including these. If we didn't, then I'd be more than disappointed, although eventually I reckon I could move past it. We're not quite at that unforgivable stage yet, but Gleeok, very important inclusion. Number 9, most important inclusion for Tears of the Kingdom in Lego form. Number 8, another vague one, we have the depths. You'll see the depths on here first, and it will pair nicely with the next one. Representation from the depths in these sets would be fantastic, although a little difficult. It would be as simple as small sets with like the mining camps or the spooky trees or the mines. Maybe not the mines, but across the depths there are a couple of recognizable locations that I think could be translated very well, such as either the Yiga bases or obviously certain events that take down in the depths that I can't discuss. But beyond that, mining camps, trees, I think the depth lends itself really well to small sets. There are a couple of memorable encounters. Of course, you could put any of the large enemies down there due to the numerous Talus, Hinoxes, Battle Talus, and so on fights that happen down there, as well as, of course, one major side adventure that I think would make a great couple of sets. Really, it'd be a nice excuse to get the variety of enemies, such as the Froxes, maybe some of the Gloom variants, and then also the Baby Froxes too, as well as that side adventure that I keep mentioning. Really, 3 or 4 small sets representing the depths wouldn't go amiss and would cover most of the major landmarks down there. Could also be really useful for just variety and fun, giving us some more Link outfits, as well as a unique aesthetic for the trees and land and rocks that are down there. It's all very unique and an interesting colour palette, so I would definitely love to see more of the depths appear in sets. I think small sets are the way forward for this one. Very important, would be disappointed if we didn't get anything at all. Slightly more important, mainly because of its ties to the marketing, was the sky. Similarly, I'd only expect maybe 1 or 2 mid-range sets, or potentially a set that covers, well, the sky and land together, like with floating islands like the Pandora sets above it. Realistically, it's slightly higher than the depths just because of the marketing ties. However, just like with the depths and the surface, it's an important region, an important biome with unique architecture and trees, as well as an opportunity to fill out more of the enemy and character roster in the form of the constructs, flots constructs, and other characters. There are lots of islands to choose from. The Great Sky Island is the obvious choice. However, just a small collection of smaller islands to jump between and have small puzzles or combat challenges on would make for a great set as well. Maybe even some smaller ones, although unlike the depths, because of the nature of having to build a floating island, really we're locked to mid or high range sets here, which is a tad unfortunate, but sort of unavoidable at the same time. There's also happens in the sky across the 2 major dungeons that are up there, and then also, well, just other islands, so I think you've got a lot of opportunities here to make something interesting, and I would definitely again expect to see at least 2 sky sets, although personally wouldn't be as disappointed if we didn't see as much from the sky. I really only need 1 set just to say that they've done it. And now, before we move into our top 6, we're going to move into some notable absences, starting with the castle. You may be wondering why the castle won't be on this list, and that is because, well, it's just impossible. It'd be much easier to do in Breath of the Wild when it's on the ground. It looks the exact same, and apart from the fact that it's floating, which yes is visually stunning, would be an absolute pain to build and would rocket the price up by 4 times. Therefore, don't feel need to do it there. Similarly, the ending, unlike other Zelda games, the ending does not exactly conjure itself to a set. If you know, you know, and I won't be going into detail as promised, but if you compare it to the encounters with Twilight Princess, Skyward Sword, and Breath of the Wild, none of the phases, except for one, if you know, you know, really conjure themselves to a set, and therefore it's very easy skip despite the amazing figures that would come out of it. The only real way I see them doing the ending is as a small diorama or as a promo, but really the ending, not too important, wouldn't be too heartbroken if it didn't show up. Sonia is another absence, and while we haven't seen her husband just yet, we will. Unfortunately, she's just 1 tier down, similar to Taru, where they're both amazing characters, but just 1 step too unimportant to be included here, especially given her limitations being in the past only, sort of limits where she could appear, and while I'll be including her in my custom set wave, I really don't expect them to. If they do include her, then we're living in the right timeline where they've really taken Tears of the Kingdom seriously, because she's not around very much. Next up, we have a couple of things which are all on here for the same reason. That would be Stables, the Deku Tree, and Hateno Village, all 3 of which are important in Tears of the Kingdom, and I considered putting on this list, but all 3 of them appeared almost identically in Breath of the Wild, therefore tying themselves to a Breath of the Wild wave, or if they did appear, I would expect a set like Hateno to cover elements from both Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, such as a stable. I would expect to include both Pen and Cass, just because why wouldn't you build off both games? Deku Tree literally doesn't change, so we're going to assume that all 3 of these and other Breath of the Wild important locations are covered by Breath of the Wild sets and therefore don't need to be on this list. Lookout Landing's another one, and this one's interesting. This would be my number 16 pick, just above the bosses. Mainly only slightly less important because I understand that it's actually going to be fairly difficult to implement. However, I still believe that it should be attempted in some form. However, I can very easily accept if it never showed up in a Tears of the Kingdom wave. Even if it was just the front gates though, I'd still appreciate it a lot. Let's move back into our normal list though now with number 6, and that is dragons. While Light Dragon might be the main picture that we have here, I do believe that this could be exchanged for either Dinral, Naedra, or Farosh as well. Realistically, it's similar to the Gleeok. Dragons are great and form an iconic part of Tears of the Kingdom's narrative, as well as just in general, they're really cool. It'd be great to see one in Lego form, and I think this could be a really interesting set with an interesting shape for a dragon. They don't do many weave-ins very often, at least not slim ones like this, so I'd very much like to see one interpreted, and I think given their importance in this universe between Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, it's about time we saw one. I think 6 most important is just about right here. Into the top 5 we have the Sages. This is a minifigure pick really. Sidon, Tulin, Unova and Riju are main characters, similarly to, well, Sonia, but just a little bit more important given that they follow you through, and I think could be really easily included, especially if regional diversity was here. However, if they didn't want to make sets based off the regions, I still believe they're crucial enough to appear in one set altogether or in separate sets. They really need to be there. They are a huge amount of what you do in Tears of the Kingdom and a huge amount of the overall message as well. I was considering not including them, given that 3 of them have almost identical appearances in Breath of the Wild. However, we can't miss Tulin. No. So the 4 stages easily make the list at number 5. Very important that we get them. We're now starting to get very close to the you made Tears of the Kingdom sets and you didn't include them. I'm sorry, that's wrong. We're still not unforgivable yet. I could move on, although it would be difficult. Me Tulin, man, come on. Number 3 though will be Raru. Now we're at the point. The top 3, all interchangeable. They're must-haves. If we don't have them in Tears sets, then something's gone wrong, and I don't think I can move past it. Raru is my favourite character in Tears. I like him a lot, and I would really love a minifigure of him. Despite his limitations and mostly only appearing in the past, he does have ghost appearances in the present. Please, not the ghost form. Please just give him the real form. Just shove him on the Great Sky Island as an exclusive figure and be done with it. He better appear in Tears sets. He's crucial to the story and the lore and everything else in between, not to mention having a really cool design. I would very much like to see him in a set. Yeah, it's unforgivable if they do Tears sets and don't include him. He's the most obscure inclusion in these top 3, but to me, I don't know how many of you agree, unforgivable if he wasn't included in Tears sets. Number 2 is the archaic tunic, main tunic in the marketing, and while I didn't love it to start with, it is definitely the outfit that we need to see the most for Link. If he didn't show up in this in at least one set, it would be incredibly disappointing because it's just the main thing. Why would you not include it? I've attempted a purist form, which stopped it from being number 1, meaning that you can sort of replicate it, although if official is really what we want, as you can see by my badly drawn version. Realistically, you're making Tears sets, it should be this in the Champion's Leathers, but I would argue this is the most important outfit and second most important thing that they would need to include in Tears sets, and it's such a small thing that you'd hope they'd start to consider number 3, 4, 5, 6 as well to include in the sets. Realistically, anything in the top 10 should be done. I'm thinking back, original representation, easy, Leo, yeah, it's a slam dunk set. Really, anything in that top 10 should be in sets, although I'll be kind, I will forgive them anything above 4. I think number 4 will be my line for forgiveness. And then my number 1 pick, the most controversial one on this list, is Zonai devices. I don't care in what form, however the Zonai devices should be a key or at least present part of the entire wave. I'm not talking about the device dispensers, but actually stuff as the wing, cart, wheels and rockets should all be in sets. Either ideally with exclusive prints or stickers to make them more interesting and make them look more Zonai, but realistically if the car from the trailer doesn't show up in a set, we've made some mistakes. It's a very Lego-like system. It should be included in Lego as the gimmick of build vehicles. Not to mention how iconic it is in marketing. It's Tears' central gimmick, it's Tears' central identity. It should be in the sets because, isn't it obvious? It's just central to everything. If they're not part of the sets, you haven't made Tears sets, you've made Breath of the Wild sets with Tears figures. But this is what makes Tears Tears, and really these devices should be everywhere. I don't expect to see all of them, but I would very much like to see the car at the very least, and I think that is the most important thing for today. Next up, you may have noticed I missed number 4. We're coming there, but I do have to give a spoiler warning. There was only one thing from anything after Regional Phenomena that I believe is top 15 priority to be turned into sets. Once again, there are no ending spoilers here, however there is a late game spoiler for a quest that happens after Regional Phenomena, part of main story. So if you are going in spoiler free, or you don't want to know what happens after you finish Regional Phenomena, please leave the video now. I imagine most of you that played the game or even have heard a little bit about it know exactly what this is, but 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Number 4 is the Minoru mech. They gave Link a mech, what do you expect? It's going to be in a Lego set, right? We've got to have it. It's a buildable character. I'm not so fussed on Minoru as a figure. Yeah, it'd be really cool, but I don't believe she's a top 15 necessary priority. She probably falls into a similar range as the Sages, given that she is one. However, if we had to choose one form of Minoru to appear, it's the mech. We want Link to be able to ride a mech in a Lego set, and we want it to look good. It would be such a cool build. It would be such a cool set. I can see like 5 ways that it comes into effect, specifically a boss battle, the Koga fights, or other things. It's just, yeah, the mech needs to be in a set, and it would be really, really disappointing if they don't do it. I could see Nintendo blocking it because late game spoilers, unlike most of the other stuff on this list. However, come on guys, give us the Minoru mech. It would be incredible part of a Tears set, and you'll be seeing it in the custom set showcase before too long. And without further ado, that is going to finish the video for today. I hope you guys enjoyed. I'm hard at work at visualizing a lot of these things. A lot of these things are part of my tiers showcase, and I'm hoping the trailer will come out soon for what we'll be covering in our showcase, or at least the first half of it. These are my picks for what I'd like to see in official sets, though, of course. Not all of these will appear in the customs. However, I think this is a pretty unbiased list. Yeah, Rory maybe shouldn't be so high, and maybe the Zona devices is more controversial than you think, but to me, this isn't about what sets they should make. I'm not telling you that the most wanted set we need from Tears of the Kingdom is a parts pack full of Zonai devices for you to construct whatever you want. No, I'm saying that the Zonai devices should be present in a set. Rari should be present in a set. The Archaic Tunic should be present in a set. Realistically, the most important thing to take away from this video is we want representation from all across Hyrule. I want to see different regions, different puzzles, different shrines, different quest moments, different enemies. I just want to see as much variety from Tears and the best parts of Tears turned into a set, and I think I encompassed that here on the list of 15. Let me know if there's anything big that I missed, of course, that you believe should be included. Absolutely 100% in a set. I want to know what you guys think is missing, and what is the most important things to see in a real wave. And without further ado, have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye bye.